This is Scott Porter with ECRM, and I am joined by JP Griffin, who is the supply manager for third-party manufacturing organizations at Shionogi. And we are at the Phoenician in Scottsdale, Arizona, at our contract services program. And JP was kind enough to host one of our thought interaction pods or tip discussions. He had a really interesting topic on serialization and then the strategies for product identifier verification requests, right? And handling those investigations in the upcoming year 2020.
Right.
So really appreciate that, and thank you for being here. Wanted to take a step back and just sort of ask you a general question leading off for those that might not be familiar with, but could you just describe serialization and why it's important?
Right. So basically, 2013, DSCSA became law and basically put in requirements that we send out basically verification of our product, transaction histories with everything that we send out, and it had in essence a 10-year timeline whereby everybody in the pharmaceutical supply chain distributing a prescription drug product would be required to meet various milestones. As of I guess November of last year, us as brand manufacturers were required to put a product identifier on all of our products that we plan to distribute in the supply chain as prescription drug products. So that was a big hurdle whereby all the packagers had to in essence put new cameras on their lines, put new software systems. We had to get serial numbers down to every packaging line and get a unique serial number put on every unit of product that we sell. And then in addition to that, the packaging that it might be within, and then we have to, in essence, aggregate all that data back up such that when we ship our product to the warehouse, everything can be scanned with one label, maybe on a pallet, that will tell you everything that's in that pallet. And that was a big hurdle, from a packaging standpoint that we all had to get through last year. Now this year, beginning November 27th or 28th of 2019, all of the wholesalers will have to verify that the serial numbers on the individual product that they receive back and want to resell is legitimate. So basically what they're going to have to do when they get a return product back to their warehouse and they want to resell it, they're going to have to contact the manufacturer and say, hey, I've got this serial number on this bottle with this G10 lot number and expiration date. Does all of this match? Is it legitimate? And we've got to verify that. Well, with the size of the industry, it's not something that can be done, at least with the big wholesalers. There's not a wholesale distributors. There's not it's not a manual effort. Can't be done manually. It's got to be done electronically. So what we're struggling with in the industry, from a pharmaceutical brand manufacturer down to the wholesalers, is how do we communicate that data with each other so that we can efficiently and quickly verify that data. At this point, we're required to verify those numbers within 24 hours. The big three wholesale distributors want that data verified within seconds, if not minutes, of them scanning that within their system that it's legitimate. So
do you have to verify it twice then for those that are returned, for return products?
Right.
So you have to have a receiving element to it as well, being the
correct.
brand manufacturer.
Yeah. So we have to receive the data. So we have to receive all the serial numbers and data for those particular lots that are serialized from our contract packagers, contract manufacturing organizations, and then we'll send that down. It'll go into our warehouse, and then once it goes out into the market, we have to come up with a way for the basically for the wholesale distributor to be able to verify that data electronically. So at this point, there's kind of three methods primarily to do it electronically, and what we heard was that people are either going to send their what are called EPCS files, which are all the serial numbers, down to the wholesalers when they ship the product. So they'll send that directly to the wholesalers. People are also using what's called a verification router service, which is kind of a third-party vendor whereby a wholesale distributor will just go to their verification router service, and then that service will talk to, in essence, my verification router service and say, hey, we've got these numbers, is this legitimate? And it'll send back a message electronically in milliseconds to verify that information. The other method that some people are employing is some kind of a web portal where wholesale distributors can connect directly to that web portal to pull those numbers down. So the question is, right now, wholesale distributors that are at least, there's only a few wholesale distributors who are actually ready to receive the EPCS files electronically. So we're kind of in a difficult situation in that, from the DSCSA law, we're not required to provide electronic data to the wholesalers. However, we are required to verify the legitimacy of a serial number if somebody requests that we verify it, and we have to do that within a 24-hour period. So
it sounds like it's a very costly endeavor, especially on smaller companies. I wonder if it's going to be a barrier to market for these guys who don't have the economy of scale. They've just got a few products. How do you spend that much money in preparing for this?
Exactly, and that's just it. The industry, it's new to the pharmaceutical industry, and for all the smaller contract manufacturers that want to move into commercial manufacturing and packaging, having to implement serialization is very costly. It can cost them upwards of $250,000 to $500,000, just to get their site and one or two lines up and running on serialization.
Let's say that the distributor is requesting this information and you're unable to get it for whatever reason. What are the penalties that are involved there?
Well, from a regulatory standpoint, I'm not sure. That certainly is something that we'll have to make sure we are getting it verified within that time frame. Now, from a cost standpoint, from a business standpoint, basically we could see the wholesale distributors just return the product to us, and at that point we would have to reimburse them for the product. So once they return it to us, we do not resell any of our products, so it will immediately go into an obsolescence and be a loss for us. So we definitely want to eliminate that possibility.
So you had brought up a few different possibilities or strategies to get involved with serialization. Is there one that's more cost effective than the other? Do you have any advice for these companies that should be a little bit further along than they are?
Right. That's a good question. At this point, I think, at least based on our roundtable, there's still people trying to figure out what might be the most cost effective. Each option has their challenges, but one option that seems to be rising to the top is this verification router service that I mentioned. The other option is sending the data directly to the consumer, or to the wholesale distributor, I should say, depending on who you're distributing to. But those are really the two options that most people, I think, are gonna look at.
Really appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot for hosting the Thought Interaction Pods, and you had a very popular pod. Everybody seemed really well engaged, and again,
yes,
thanks.
Thank you. You're welcome. Enjoyed it. Thanks, Scott.